Shemai friendy and welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin Anwin for anyone who's new here, and let's get back into building in Planet Zoo. And we're continuing in the Balayong Zoo today with a Peafowl Habitat, and this is the last but one habitat for this entire zoo, and it's just making me so sad. I have really enjoyed building this zoo, and I thought I'd be a little bit adventurous today, and instead of using the regular barriers, I'm actually making my own little barrier for this habitat, because in my research, peafowls actually live in farmland, and normally I will say my fun fact a little bit later on in the video, but it fits in really nicely by here. So the peafowl often kill and eat baby cobras, which has led to them being respected and revered in Indian folklore, and I suspect the Indian farmers would be really happy to have some peafowl on their farm to keep them safe from the cobras. So I wanted to do like a white picket fence for the outside of this habitat, like a white picket farmyard fence. It's probably not the traditional Indian farm, but I wanted to do like a classic white picket fence, red barn type of habitat. And I think it'd be like a really fun experience, because this habitat is going to be a walkthrough habitat as well. Usually in zoos, peafowl would be just roaming around the whole zoo. They wouldn't have to be in a habitat at all. They are really sociable birds, so they would just be chilling, walking around the whole zoo. But I've kind of done like a farmyard experience for this habitat instead. And this wooden gate is just not fitting in with the cute farmyard theme, so I had to figure out a way of hiding this entrance gate for the guests. I was just thinking of what kinds of things I would like to see in a zoo, like experience wise, trying to be a guest, because I've got to focus more on what guests like as well, not just what themes I like. And I think it would be really fun to be able to like walk through a barn to get into a habitat, incorporate the theme of the whole habitat into the guest experience as well. And I was looking at like cartoony kind of barns. I didn't want it to be super realistic. I wanted it to be like a classic red barn. You know how I like my habitats. They're not super realistic. If I compare a real zoo to the things I kind of do in zoos, like you would never really get this sort of experience in a zoo, because none of it is like themed exactly the same. We've got a general theme, which is the Balayong point, so there's lots of cherry blossom trees dotted here, there and everywhere, but every habitat has been completely different. I would really love to go to a real zoo to actually see that though. The only zoo I've really been to in the past like 5 to 10 years is Folly Farm. That's not really like, it's a zoo, but it's not a zoo. It's like kind of more centered for like a younger guest. I don't know. I haven't been to a zoo in a long time. I would love to go to one, especially now like the world is getting a little bit better of a place to, you know, travel around to. Would you like me to do like a travel vlog? I'm a gamer, I don't know whether I could. But yeah, if I ever do go to a zoo, let me know whether you'd like me to do like a little travel vlog, me going to a real zoo. That would be so fun. Actually leaving the house and not just visiting zoos in Planet Zoo. But yeah, the roofing was kind of difficult because I wanted to make this like slightly smaller than the grids. I needed to use the eaves to roof instead of using the full roof panels, and because they were eaves, they were a little thin on the edges, so I used my favorite wood panels from the East Asian style to line the edges of the roof, so on the front and the back and on the like sides and in the middle as well, just to line it all off, give that extra little detail and pop of white, because most barns are red and white. I wanted to add more white into there so it wasn't super like big contrast between the black roof and the red walls. I then obviously couldn't just leave that entrance guest gate there. I needed to cover that up a little bit because the wood just wasn't really going with the theme at all, and I was more concerned about the front than the back really. The guests would want to see something nice as they walk in, and then they want to see something nice as they're walking through, but I wasn't so concerned with what the back looked like. To keep the game running nicely, I haven't really opened the zoo at all. I think it'll be fun to just wait now. We've only really got one more habitat left, and then right at the end, after I build the clouded leopard habitat, we will have a grand opening and a full tour of the whole zoo all together as well. And for the other side, I didn't want it to be closed off. I wanted this to be like an open barn door style on the other side, because I didn't really need to hide this side. I only needed the doors to be shut on the other side. Don't think it quite makes sense because I've got the pattern on this side, and technically the pattern wouldn't have been on that side if the doors technically opened that way, but let's just pretend the pattern's on either side and it's not just on the one side. And this door actually comes from the Indian style. I actually did a mix of aquatic, Indian and Asian styles for this build to find the items that I actually wanted and like the colours that I really liked. I thought I'd put a little animal talk in this barn as well. It does have a lot of decorations inside. It's got 100% scenery rating because it's inside the barn, and I thought it would be a nice little place to get the guests to stop so they don't just walk through the barn and go straight into the habitat. And of course this barn actually counts as shelter for the peafowl as well, so the peafowl can wander in and out of the barn but they can't wander out of the habitat. And I was a little unsure about how to fill in the rest of my farmyard. So I grabbed a few different items that I thought would fit in really nicely. So I was having a look through my blueprints, and some of these blueprints I had downloaded last Halloween, and I found this corn maze and it had like a little scarecrow in it, and I'm gonna have a look on Steam whether the scarecrow is separate, but otherwise I will link the blueprint for this corn maze that I got this scarecrow from in the description. I will always put the blueprints that I use in these zoos in the description of my video. If I put this habitat up on Steam, I will add these as required items as well. And I really like this little wagon, and I like the boxes for the wagon as well. I think they're tea boxes. This is in the Indian style. This is like the items from the farm that's going to be taken on a horse to like a market or something. So I got little sacks of fruit and like boxes with other farm items, I don't know, are stacked up ready to be taken to like a market or something. I was actually showing my mum this build as I was going through it. My mum actually said that these are like little selfie points, so you would go into the habitat and obviously see the peafowl and everything, but I've got like little stations where you would stop and take some pictures with your family. It's like little selfie points. So like this is the little market one. Obviously you would take a selfie in front of the barn as well, that is a must, but like the scarecrow's a selfie point as well, just sort of things like that. I thought it was a really good idea. I didn't even think of that. So by the time this video's out, and by the time the last video was out, the Sims 4 game pack Dream Home Designer is actually out by now, but I'm still not quite convinced of whether I actually want to buy the pack and play through the pack. But I'm really hoping there's going to be a new DLC for Planet Zoo soon, so I don't really know what to do. We'll probably just start a new sandbox zoo maybe. Let me know what you'd like to see see if you are interested in like a themed zoo like this one, or should we do like a realistic style? I'm not sure. I really don't know what to do next, and I couldn't really find anything that could look like hay bales, but I did find a blueprint on the workshop with some hay bales. I will put the name of the creator on screen and obviously the link in the description. That totally helped, and it added another little selfie zone, as my mum liked to call it, for next to the barn. The pumpkins as well as a blueprint. I thought like the pumpkins next to the hay bale looked really nice, and I wanted to make like a fruit and veg patch, make it look like a proper farm where you could go and pick your own fruit and veg too. I know these fruit and veg do not grow from the ground. Or some of them don't anyway. The pineapples look sort of okay. Do they grow from the ground? I always thought pineapples grew on trees. Do they grow from trees? I don't know. I'll Google it and I'll put it on screen. Yeah, I was pretty happy with like my selfie zones around the farm. I wanted to keep the center of it pretty open so it would look like the guests could just sort of mill around and walk around the whole habitat and have a look at the peafowl. And of course the habitat needed education, not just the animal talk, but it needed some educational speakers as well. So I put one in the barn and coloured that one red to match in with the barn itself. And then I hid some extra speakers in the scenery items, which I think would happen in real zoos. They would normally hide speakers in things so you couldn't really see them. So I hid them in the different scenery items. One's in a pumpkin, or two are in a pumpkin, one's in a bag, and the other one's hidden underneath a cabbage. I thought that would be a little bit more realistic and hide those speakers a little bit better in amongst the scenery items. And I really like theming my habitats to the animals that live in the habitats themselves. So I wanted to add in a lovely peacock statue in the habitat as well as on the education boards, which we will get to. So I added the Peafowl statue on top of the education board frame, like it was sitting on top of it, and then it showed off that beautiful tail just swooping over the frame itself. I thought that was really nice. It's a little bit extra, but peacocks are kind of extra, aren't they? And I just added in a few little lights in the path markers. They got like little wooden stubbins, so I just put these little lights in there to light up the inside of the habitat for if guests are walking around in the dark. We got some lights in there. It kind of does break the illusion that it is a farm having these little lights around, but it does brighten up the habitat a little bit, which is nice. Most of the habitats, it doesn't really matter if it's slightly dark or not, but this one we're going to have guests walking around, so I wanted it to be a little bit more lit up. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this peafowl farm. What do you think? Did you enjoy this little habitat? I've never really built my own barriers before with like fencing, so that was a new thing for me, and it was really nice to incorporate the barn into the entrance of the habitat for the guests. I think that was really fun. And yeah, it's red though. It doesn't really go with the whole theme of the zoo, and it kind of like gripes me a little bit. Like, red's not my favorite. Like, this was like the closest thing to red that I could find, with a little mini and some red lipstick. It goes a little bit better now I have purple hair. But yeah, like, it's not really going with the zoo all that much. I was really tempted to do a big pink barn, but I don't think it'd look the greatest in pink. Now I've built it in red, I think it looks really cool in red, even though it doesn't go with the theme all that much. But it looks lovely against the bright, vibrant colours of the peacock. It looks great with the peacock going around, so I'm just going to show you how the peafowl, because we do have the peahens as well, the peafowl wander around this little farm, taking care of the farmer and making sure that there's no cobras in this farm. And yeah, I think it's really cool. Thank you so much to all of the Steam content creators, workshop content creators for the blueprint items. I would not have been able to decorate this habitat without them. And check them all out in the description if you have Planet Zoo, and I will leave it off there. We have one more habitat to go, and then we're gonna have our grand opening and big zoo tour, and then we're all done. So let me know what you would like to see next, because we're so close to finishing it off. I'm kind of sad. I'm gonna miss this zoo. I've really enjoyed building it, and I've really appreciated all of the comments on the habitat builds as well, and having all of your suggestions. So definitely let me know what you would like to see next. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, and if you haven't already and you would like to, it would mean a lot to me if you could subscribe and hit the bell to be notified whenever I upload a new video. I upload on Wednesdays and Saturdays around 7 p.m. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Goodbye!